You're listening to The Lead on News 24 with your host, broadcast journalist Graham Robenheimer.
He led Mzansi's newest Green Party to fifth place in the 2021 municipal polls. So the question now is, what will it take for Herman Mashaba's Action SA to do it again in 2026?
Looks like Action SA is attractive to smaller parties of a very strategic nature. I mean, you take since the 2021 local government elections, which political parties acquired more legally and officially acquired more councillors than us without going through a by-election.
The founder of Black Like Me is my guest this Newsmaker Thursday on News 24's The Lead.
Unfortunately, Graham, I've accepted Helen to be a habitual liar. I would not really trust her. I think Helen has got no shame to lie.
And can he pick up where he left off as mayor of a now broken Johannesburg?
The only way the inner city is going to be successful, we have to ensure that we don't welcome undocumented illegal foreigners.
All this and more in our discussion next. Later, we'll end off with On This Day in South African history, and in 2004, 75,000-year-old shell beads washed up near Stilbaai, sparking global headlines.
New episodes of The Lead air Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m.
In Roby's Pointless Brian Quiz today, which part of EFF leader Julius Malema's firearm discharge court trial outcome has he since managed to clinch a successful leave to appeal for? Well, we'll give you that answer at the end of the show. My name's Graham Robenheimer, this is The Lead, and this is the South African story. Moving to our top story today, well, he's the president of Action SA. He's the former mayor of Johannesburg, and he's the founder of the iconic South African brand, Black Like Me. He's Herman Mashaba, and it's my absolute pleasure that he's in the hot seat this Newsmaker Thursday, right here on The Lead on News 24. Nkosi kakhulu, danko, Herman, for joining us on the show today. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much, Graham, for inviting me to be part of your engagement today. Though tired after grueling 3 days in the Northwest, having to wake up this morning to go to Tshwane to the State of the City address, which was fascinating, illuminating, and yes, I'm proud, as tired as I am right now, I still really feel proud. That's why I'm so positive of the future of my country.
Yeah, absolutely. I need a little bit of that positivity from you at the moment. I'm having a difficult week myself, very busy. But anyway, that's besides the point. I want to get this out of the way first, Herman. It's something we both got to perhaps give our reaction and say something about, because it's dominated the news space today, and I really want to hear what you have to say, because all political parties have been sharing statements about this. EFF leader Julius Malema getting 5 years for the illegal firearm discharge in a Eastern Cape court, although he's been given a successful leave to appeal in regards to the sentencing of those 5 years, but not his conviction. I just wanted to get your reaction quickly off the bat of things as we start our discussion.
I belong to a party that believes in the rule of law, and I think personally the rule of law is central to a success of any country. So I think I want to live in a country where the application of the rule of law is not dependent of who you are and what your postcode is. So I think I honestly believe that I respect the decision of the court, and I think if Mr. Malema is found guilty, then he must face the consequences of his actions, as long as he was treated fairly. And I think following developments over the last few years, I mean, this matter really dragged on for far too long.
Let's move on to Action SA matters. I mean, a year after forming in 2020, you emerged as the sixth biggest political party in South Africa, more than 500,000 votes in those municipal polls. You then shifted a little bit down to 8th place in the national 2024 polls. But how did you initially pull that off? Take us back to that time. I mean, to do that in a year, you did have some sort of, groundswell politics. You were out on the ground. You were no longer in the DA. But, I mean, it must have been quite something, especially to get more than 500,000 votes. Take us back to that time.
Well, and I think it's actually looking at it, getting it from only 6 municipalities. I think the success there was really, to a large extent, based on our focus. We focus on 6 municipalities. Actually, personally, if I had my way in 2021, I would have only contested 3 metros in Gauteng. But eventually, we were convinced to contest the other 3 in KZN. So, and obviously you look at it now, 2.5 years later, now you have to go national. I think for us, without any doubt, that was a very bad move from our side. Because, you run a political party is not just really a question of resources or financial resources. It's about actually having the structures and having ethical people who are in politics to serve society. I think we really overstretched ourselves. We allowed circumstances outside our control because everyone was excited, wanting us to contest everywhere. And I know my colleagues were not happy with me, but I considered and we contested everywhere. That was the one mistake. And you remember, after the elections, we did really inform South Africans that I think it was actually an oversight from Action SA. But also very important was our association with the DA prior to the elections. That was actually the biggest mistake we made, because we underestimated the fear of the black voters of the DA. I remember personally when DA approached me in late 2015 to be the mayoral candidate. After accepting, I actually called my nephews. I've got lots of nephews from my sisters and my brother, and most of them are university graduates and so forth. So I called them to let them know, because I didn't want them to just read about this in the papers. And I can tell you, more than half of them were not pleased with me, to say, Uncle, we know you're a tough guy, but I think you're going into a wrong party. And I said, no, man, guys, not going into it. Look at the ANC has messed up big time in our country. It's a political party led by Musi Maimane. We've got people like Helen Zille, the Mike Muriatis, and so forth. I said, you know what options do I have? Because at the time, to my family, especially my daughter, was requesting and actually advising me to say, Dad, you're frustrated and you don't want to be an armchair critic any longer. Then, you know what? Go and buy yourself the house in an estate in Florida. Go and play golf, and then you can come and visit the family 3-4 times a year. I said to her, my girl, I'm sorry. If I take that easy decision, God will punish me. And I joined the DA, despite the fact that my nephews and nieces were not happy. Some were not happy with me. But I says, look, you've got our blessings. So obviously, when I started and became mayor and started experiencing problems from the DA, and they said, Uncle, we told you. But I said, look, guys, I think, the life is not as easy as that. I mean, this is not something, it's not 1 + 1 is 2, I tried, and obviously South Africans forced me to start my own political party, and South Africans were excited with us. It is for that reason we received such a swell of support, because we were independent, just coming out of the DA. And we made a terrible mistake when John Steenhuisen came out with that moonshot pack without even talking to us. And I personally take the responsibility, because I was against this from the beginning. But our team felt, you know what, let's really try it, because we've got to remove the ANC from power.
Can we take a step back to those DA days? Because you actually, that's a question I wanted to bring up. Looking back at your DA exit in 2019, I was quite surprised at the time, because we're talking about a couple of issues that came out in the wash. Take us back to your mindset there. Were you upset with Helen Zille's redeployment within the DA now to the federal council as chairperson there? Were you upset with how the party was shifting towards merits first and race and gender are not really indicators when we hire people or appoint people? What were the ideological or political policy concerns for you at that point that made your decision easier to leave the DA, really is my question.
Look, Graham, I don't know if you remember very well what happened when the position of the federal chair became available after the exit of James Self. At that time, I had already brought to attention secret meetings between Helen Zille and the IRR with senior ANC leadership, where Helen was asking the ANC to come out with a motion of no confidence against me, calling me an EFF mayor, and consent about with the ANC that this man is pursuing serious corruption charges against you. Come out with a motion of no confidence. I will get you majority of white councillors to vote him out. So I brought this to the attention of Musi Maimane. And Musi, a few weeks down the line, not doing anything about it. I then remember I released a statement myself. I said, our guys, DA, because a lot of DA people are good people, are good South Africans, I share the same values with. So I think we must not obviously make that mistake that everyone in the ANC, big number of DA people are good human beings that I will associate with at any time. But unfortunately with Helen, talking to the ANC, knowing very well that I left my business, successful business, to join the DA to ensure that we can democratically remove the corrupt ANC out of power. When have secret meetings, and she did not realize that Herman wasn't born yesterday, because once I became aware of those meetings, I told Musi, giving him evidence, and I said, Musi, I see Helen has put her head in the ring to come back into the DA. In the event she comes back, I'm out, because I do not want to associate with such characters. It's someone at the time, before I joined the DA, I respected her. I thought she was a good, concerned South Africans who believed in social justice. But in the interim, remember before the 2019 national government, when Cyril Ramaphosa was contesting, actually she sabotaged DA's Musi's campaign, coming out with irresponsible statements, causing debates in the country about the DA and so forth, her missing apartheid, celebrating apartheid, all those things. But I think for me was for her to negotiate with ANC people to have a motion of no confidence. I think that for me was the final straw. I could really live with other issues, but I want the ANC today, because I didn't remember. I issued a statement. I said I will only resign if he comes back. If not, I will live with the rest of the people, because they are good human beings.
Let's talk about the now. Let's forget the past for a second, because Action SA is building, something quite interesting with the initiative of, it's called the Green Umbrella, and we're going to get to that in a second. But, you're taking on Zille for the heart of Joburg again, perhaps your political arch rival to a certain degree. Say, for example, you win or she wins, but you don't get an outright majority. Do you think you could work with somebody like Zille to run Johannesburg?
I think it's going to be almost impossible, if not difficult, because unfortunately, Graham, I've accepted Helen to be a habitual liar. I would not really trust her. I think Helen has got no shame to lie. And I think Herman Mashaba, I'm sure you know, I'm on record to say, you betray Herman Mashaba, you'll see his brutality, because I've been taught not to lie, and I've been taught to stand to my ground. And for someone to betray me, because honestly, I'll never betray anyone. That's why political parties that hate me, like the ANC and even the DA, no one can ever have a gun on Herman Mashaba, because it's in my DNA. I will never do something that one day someone can hold a gun at my head. Do I make mistakes? Graham, over 40 years of my business career, I've made lots of mistakes.
Sure.
But one thing for sure, in the 66 years, I've made more good decisions than the wrong ones. So I think I'm not really sure how one would want to get involved with negotiating a coalition government with Helen Zille. I will negotiate with the DA, and I'm already on public, and I can make it public to you that in the event we are forced by the electorate to work with the DA, we are comfortable to respect the electoral outcome. But I think if the DA would want to really have successful negotiations with us, because this time I will lead these negotiations myself, and I would not want to negotiate with someone who lies.
Okay. There's this Green Umbrella project. I thought it quite interesting. Within the ambit of Action SA, going to, these smaller civic associations across the country to try and, say, come and put on a Green Action SA t-shirt, be part of our local ward councillors offering. And you've managed to boost your numbers, I think, nationally to 150 public office bearers when it comes down to it. So well done there. And I think you've also improved your footprint in the Northwest.
There's a likelihood to see more coming in the coming weeks or so. We're still talking, because it looks like Action SA it's attractive to smaller parties of a very strategic nature. I mean, you take since the 2021 local government elections, which political parties acquired more legally and officially acquired more councillors than us, without going through a by-election. We only won one by-election, but we today as Action SA, we've acquired over 50 councillors.
To be mayor again of Joburg, Herman, what are the main things you want to say right now to any person that is thinking about where to put their X when it comes to municipal elections, hopefully later this year? I think it's the IEC said it's meant to be done between November and January next year. People remember you as mayor for trying to reclaim many of the hijacked buildings. Is that something that's going to form part of your policy promises going ahead?
Well, it's actually my top priority, because at the time when I took over the city of Johannesburg, at the time, that's in 2016, I inherited a city with over 300,000 housing backlog. So I can imagine right now it must have increased by 50,000 or so. Housing is a huge challenge. And unfortunately, housing is not the competency of the municipality, but there's a huge opportunity I've identified. Graham, this time I'm coming back with experience. You remember when I took over as a mayor, from the time I accepted to be the candidate, I declared to South Africans, I said, look, I'm going into this because I'm tired of being an armchair critic. I've got to do something. But what the mayor does, I don't know. I will learn. I'm just throwing myself in the deep sea. I'm going to swim out. And right now, I'm going back with massive experience. I don't honestly believe that there's anyone who understands that city more than I do. The 3 years that I survived ANC onslaught, and unfortunately disrupted by Helen Zille, this city of Johannesburg would have been very far. Let me just tell you something that I'm sure you know, or perhaps you've forgotten. You remember when I announced on the 1st of December 2016 that I'm going to take back hijacked, derelict, and abandoned buildings. And where I find the owners, I'll give them back to the owners. But where I cannot, I'm going to expropriate them, because the Constitution as it is does allow expropriation without compensation. There's properties, they owe the city of Johannesburg a lot of money. They're run by criminal syndicates. And fortunately enough, I'm not scared of criminals. Remember, I led the raids in the city of Johannesburg myself. By the time I left, Graham, I'd already passed, in the 2017, 2018, I passed an official policy called the Inner City Rejuvenation Plan. It's a plan passed by council for me to expropriate these buildings, give them on a long list to the private sector. I was releasing them in batches over time. By the time I left, I had already awarded 154 buildings and properties to the private sector for development. And this private sector, all of them had the money to start building. So we were going to see an investment of 32 billion rands out of those properties in construction. We were going to create, this private sector, we were going to create 22,000 permanent jobs during the construction phase. But more importantly and historically, they were going to build 14,500 housing units. I mean, it's never been seen. Because if you look at the city of Johannesburg, since the ANC took over, getting grants from national government to build this shady RDP houses. The most you can get out of the grant that you get to build out RDP houses, the most, if you don't steal the money, is 2,000 houses. Here, just out of someone else's balance sheet, I was going to create 14,500 with 154. By that time, I had already identified over 600 properties. And I had committed to people of Johannesburg and South Africa that I'm going to expropriate a minimum. I'm going to give a minimum of 100 properties a year during my tenure as the mayor. Remember the last council meeting I attended, I presented to council 37 properties, these abandoned factories in Wynberg around Alexander, 37 properties. The only thing the city needed to do was to put them out to tender for the private sector to build affordable accommodation. So this project is very important. It's going to be my priority, because as soon as I left, when Jeff Makubu took over, said to JPC team to say, this is Mashaba project, put it somewhere and forget about it. When people of Johannesburg give me the mandate, the first thing I want, and I'm not going to negotiate with anyone. If anyone wants to, the officials who to think that they can play games with me, I want that report, because that report is a council-approved policy. I want it back as a matter of agency. We look for those companies which were awarded. If they still got the money, they still have the interest, they can immediately start building. And we will proceed as a matter of agency to now go for the balance of the properties, so that we can, within the first year, we can actually turn the city of Johannesburg into a construction site as I had promised. So the inner city is crucial. But the only way the inner city is going to be successful, we have to ensure that we don't welcome undocumented illegal foreigners. We've got our own issues as a country. So within the JMPD, I will set up a professional unit that must ensure that they rate these properties. If we find you in this property, you are undocumented, you are illegal in South Africa, we will ensure that we send you to, we go and drop you every day. We will go and drop them at Home Affairs offices. So the Minister of Home Affairs must have enough space, because these people are not going to be welcome in Joburg. So I don't know their offices in Pretoria if they're going to have enough space. Otherwise, if they want to save space, then as soon as we bring them undocumented illegal people, they must immediately send them back to their respective countries.
Herman,
they mustn't send them back to the state.
On that note, because it's something I picked up at, and I saw you at the State of the Nation address. It's a common theme amongst almost all the political parties now of this posturing towards the need to sort out the illegal migrancy issue now in South Africa. But I am a little bit concerned that there's a slippery slope given our country's very dark past when it comes to our trends of violence, xenophobia. Clamping down on illegal migrancy, a top priority for you now going into the elections. I'm just a little bit worried that people's human rights fall by the wayside because we don't have a proper police force to really look at these things with a human rights lens. I mean, you say you want to take people and drop them off at Home Affairs. We're not talking about arresting people, are we?
Graham, you know what? Let me take you to Alexander or in one of you're most welcome. You tell me when I can take you to these hijacked buildings or here in Alexander where we don't even need permission. You tell me about human rights. In fact, I blame the South African Human Rights Commission. I find it, for me and my family, we're one of the big taxpayers in this country through my businesses. And for me to pay for a Chapter 9 institution that is actually failing the human rights of law-abiding South Africans. And for someone to tell me I must show a human rights culture to someone coming from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from Zimbabwe, from Nigeria, I think we must not really have a double standard when it comes to human rights. I find it, honestly, for me, quite disturbing when people tell me about human rights and they are saying no, children of undocumented foreigners must be allowed in school, but South Africans should not really be allowed. I find it, I don't understand what we mean by human rights. Human rights of criminals, because people who came into our country illegally are criminals, because a criminal for me is someone who breaks the country's laws. So I think perhaps let's come out there and someone give me a definition of what human rights is. Human rights, is it criminals or is it law-abiding citizens? If you're a law-abiding citizen, human rights doesn't apply to you. That's a feeling I feel when people actually, when I articulate this. That's why, Graham, I don't know if you remember, ANC in 2016 even took me to the South African Human Rights Commission, and I won the case on the basis of what I was articulating, and I'm telling you, it's within our laws. So I think, honestly, I'm not going to really be apologetic to anyone about asking for human rights for law-abiding South Africans who today live in squalor, almost squalor. I live here in Sandton, in Athol. Across hardly 10 minutes, just on the other side of the freeway. We are not going to build a wall to hide people of Alexander. You know what? Sometimes every time I'm in Alexander, I tell people, sometimes I feel I'm not doing enough to fight for them. As much as I know I do, but when I look at these people and I don't have the power to do something about them, that's why I call on them. Please give me the mandate, because I don't have a birthright to be a leader and take over as a mayor. Give me the mandate so that I have the powers to do something, and I'm not going to apologize to anyone to make sure that you also enjoy the human rights culture that I see people talking about.
Let's chat, because I still want to get you on one or two quick things before I let you go, Herman. You've got Dr. Nasipa Moya. She gave the State of Tshwane, leading up for Action SA alongside the ANC in our capital. How difficult has it been for Action SA to not, renege on its own policies, to not, shoot itself in the foot by working with the ANC? And is this the Action SA success story that you were hoping for? Has it been easier then to work with the ANC? I mean, what's the experience been like?
Well, it's been an amazing experience because I can tell you we were taking a gamble because, remember, I'm on record as well to say, you know what, we've been abused by the DA, including now wanting to remove us from Tshwane to work with the ANC. So therefore, we're going to kill them before they can kill us. We said we will obviously speak to the ANC. And it was a big gamble because it was the first time we had said in the past that we can't work with the ANC. But we had a dilemma. We had a dilemma because if we pull out of the DA in Tshwane, we know that by that time I knew that the ANC and EFF will not work with the DA in Tshwane. And without our numbers, the DA and Freedom Front Plus and ANC and EFF, both of them can't form government without me. So there was a choice that we then work with the ANC, EFF, or put the city under administration. But because of my love for my country, I said, I cannot put this. Let me try something else. So it might work out. Approach the ANC to say, we are prepared to work with you guys. One condition, that I take over the leadership. And I'm on record on that. I'm sure it's on record. And fortunately enough, my numbers allowed me to dictate the terms. And that's how we took over. And I'm really so highly impressed by the manner in which Dr. Moya is running that coalition. It's a consultative process. He doesn't take any report to council without talking to her executive. You see every Monday, whatever, they get together and actually broadcast this on social media about their planning. So it's really been an eye-opener for me. And look at what happened. Took over the city that was almost bankrupt. The DA themselves, we took over in October. They said to us, you won't be able to pay salaries in November, and which was true. Look at it now, right now. We've now presented the second funded budget. The first funded budget we presented last year. They collected 120 million rands more than what they budgeted for, because they go out and make sure that people pay. Those who can pay, they stop the nonsense of illegality and so forth. And it's really been quite an eye opener for me. But unfortunately, when ANC, after we formed Tshwane, they then said, guys, work with us in Johannesburg. But because obviously the ANC I thought it wouldn't be fair for Action SA to demand the leadership of Johannesburg. We then said, we are happy to work with you, but we will be in the legislature only, and so that we hold you guys accountable. And please don't expect us to vote for nonsense. And Dada Morero just decided to ignore us. He thought we are voting cattle, bringing reports of people that are fired, people that are personally going to lay criminal charges against them, Section 56 managers, expecting us to vote for that. We refused. Remember, we voted against their budget. We voted against the appointment of senior managers, and they decided to remove us, and we are the happiest. So it shows to us as Action SA that it looks like that you need a stable coalition arrangement in this country. That coalition has got to be led by Action SA. So it's going to be interesting. We're working to make sure that, more especially these three metros in Johannesburg, we want to govern. I'm not in this business to be in opposition. I'm in this business to govern so that I can really change the trajectory of this bad administration of the ANC.
Herman,
I think one has to work hard to either win outright majority or be the biggest party, so that we can take over the mayorship.
Yeah, and if you're not the mayor, right, say, for example, or hypothetically, right, and you don't want to co-govern with Zille, as you've already alluded to, would you ever go into parliament, just become an MP? I say just, but I don't mean it like that, but, would you go into parliament and join your colleagues there, Athol Trollop and company? I mean, you've got 6 MPs there. It's nothing to scoff at. That's an impressive number on a national scale.
Graham, where I'm sitting right now, I'm at my house. After the elections, ANC sent a senior delegation to come and talk to me, offering me a senior position as a cabinet minister. And basically, in simple terms, I told them to go to hell because I did not really see the reason why.
What position did they offer you? What position?
To join a 70%. Let's leave that. It's not really necessary. But we were offered a senior position as me in particular. And I said, guys, please don't take chances. Life doesn't really work like that. You've got 70% with you and the DN and others, so you don't need me. There's not going to be any effective opposition. Our party, I can tell you, I'm going to advise my guys to send 6 of our top members to go and really be an effective opposition. And that's our stance as a party. We are happy to be in opposition. I'm not going to parliament. Graham, I'm sure you know, I do this job purely on a voluntary basis from Action SA's point of view. I get paid by my wife, and my wife is one of the big, my family, it's one of the big supporters of Action SA. So I don't really get paid, so I don't need a job. But I have very strong, deep love for my country, and I'd like to see this country succeed. And I don't necessarily have to really be in parliament to make a difference. In fact, my colleagues, I remember, including actually when I was refusing to go to parliament, tried to talk to my wife to convince me. And I said, my dear, I'm not going there. And today, they're so grateful because if I had gone to parliament, I'm telling you, I would not have been able to put together the government in Tshwane. I would not have had the time for that because the work in parliament, I mean, I feel sorry for our 6 members of parliament, the amount of work they've got to do. Secondly, I would not have been able to conceive the green umbrella concept. I would not really have been able to. I've just come back from Taung. You know, just to give you an example, Taung municipality, we're going to be contesting there for the first time. That municipality has got 24 wards. Action SA, as I was talking to you, has already launched 16 branches in a 24 municipality. Municipality is not contested. And I addressed 5 or so meetings. The first meeting I attended, the team were expecting about just over 400 people, for catering purposes. They had, I think, about 730 people who attended. First time to be in that part of the world. The smallest the people group are addressed were just over 300. So this is Taung, just to give you an example of the power of this green umbrella and what these councillors are doing for us. These are exceptional public servants because the guys I've called into Action SA under the green umbrella. These are people who come from the ANC, from the past, but they got hard with ANC, then decided to go as either as independents and form their own political parties, using their own money and their own resources. Some of them actually were relating to me how they managed to even win wards by actually going house to house as community, donating whatever 50 rands and 100 rands or so. So right now, under Action SA's umbrella, now all of them, they know they don't have to spend their money that they're earning as councillors. Let them go and support their families. We will support their campaigns. This is just to give you an example. I'm sure you know in Northwestern, last October, we won a award from the ANC. 80% ANC controlled municipalities since 1994. Action SA went for the first time. We won that by-election with by two votes.
Sure, what a tight margin. Herman, I want to wrap up. I want to get your quick view on this before we're going to play a very small game called Roby's Round Robin. Don't stress, it's just quick rapid-fire questions. But let's end off here. Are you able to remain in business at all during this time? Do you, as Action SA president, still take part in investments? Are you still involved in the private sector? What does that look like for you?
Well, Graham, for your information, 3rd of March this year, my wife and I celebrated 43 years of our marriage. And my wife and I, January of this year, celebrated 41 years of our company, Black Like Me. And when I started my business, I recruited her. She used to work for Sutton Sons as a junior bookkeeper here in Sandton. I recruited her to come and work in a 200 square meter factory with no furniture. So it is for that reason it was easy for me to leave my business interest to my wife to run. And luckily, my daughter finished her studies in the US and with COVID managed to get her to come back. So she is working in the business. My son has also now joined one of the businesses where I've got big shareholding. So yes, I've got my wife equally competent. In fact, it looks like she's doing a much better job than what I used to do. So I think my business is in very, very safe hands. And she supports us as a party unapologetically so, because we're doing it for all South Africans, black and white. We're doing it to ensure that one day we can have politicians who are in politics not to fill their stomachs. Because one thing I've always made clear to South Africans that Herman Mashaba or Action SA, we're not for sale. No one can ever compromise me for money. No amount of money can ever compromise Herman Mashaba. Could not be compromised when I did not have 25 cents to pay school fees when I was still young. So right now, with the financial independence I enjoy, I think, my businesses are in safe hands. My wife, I don't know if you're aware, my wife, I think a few weeks ago, won the Forbes Africa Businesswoman of the Year award. I don't know if you saw it.
Congrats. Well, on that note, let's end off with this. It's 5 quick questions, Herman. I'm going to shoot them at you. You got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You got to answer them. Here we go. You ready? It's called Roby's Round Robin. Are you ready for this?
Ready.
Fantastic. What's your favorite artist, painter, or musician, alive or dead today?
Well, my favorite musician, I'm not really sure between Marvin Gaye and Ray Charles, one of the two, or in between.
Okay, favorite political rival. Is it Helen Zille?
No, you know what? With Helen, it's a difficult situation. The only problem I have with Helen is dishonesty. I have a problem dealing with dishonest people. I despise such people. So, but I have a problem with Cyril Ramaphosa as well. Very serious problems with Cyril Ramaphosa. Actually, right now, I'm busy finishing an opinion piece on his appointment of Ruth Meyer as our ambassador to the US. I have very serious concern with that decision.
Why? Tell us why.
I'm 66 years. I lived more than half of my life under that evil system of apartheid. And Meyer was one of the senior people in that arrangement. And for Cyril to bring someone like that to go and represent me or us in a country where, on a basis of misinformation, we must go and defend something where, I talk to my American friends every day. We are all surprised about this genocide thing that we are being accused of, because I don't know what people are talking about. So, Cyril Ramaphosa is trying to go and manage something that I'm not really sure how Ruth Meyer can be the person. I mean, we've got good black and white South Africans who are neutral, good human beings. I've worked with all races in all the years in business. I'm sure you're aware. I started business with a guy called Johan Kriel.
Yeah, 80s. Yeah, in the 80s.
Guy. But I approached him in 1984 when I was a trader. Johan could make the products, because I used to sell products for the company I was working for on a commission basis. Great chemist.
But Herman, we're not answering the question. And, who's that political rival? Is it Zille or is it now Cyril?
Anything in between the two of them.
Okay. All right. Favorite movie of all time?
Goodness, Graham, when last did I ever go to the movie? Actually, my family knows I don't go to movies or just watch. I like real movies. Movie that I enjoyed, the recent one, obviously, maybe 10 years or so, Ray Charles, his life. How was this guy who played that? It touched me because Ray's music, it's in my system, and watching that, I cry to see what someone living in brutal America become handicapped and become such an amazing, intelligent genius.
Right.
It's called Ray, I think.
Yeah. It's a highly acclaimed flick. Okay, next, your ultimate aspiration before you die. What is that?
Is to see a country where we have under 10% unemployment rate, a country where I can walk the streets like I can be in London or New York, I can walk the streets, or in Tokyo or Sydney. I can walk the streets, go and enjoy it, going to a jazz bar, walking, and so forth. I want a country that can be like that. A country where our public schools are producing the best of the best. We have universities where our children, if they want to become doctors, a space for them when they want to become doctors. A country where, for me, a flag. I always tell South Africans, I want to live in a country where every second house we hang our flags, even when there's nothing happening. That is just to show our patriotism to this country.
Yeah, and your best city in the world? What is it? Final question.
I think Tokyo so far.
Not Johannesburg. I thought you were going to say Joburg was going to be the best city in the world.
Not in the current situation. We'll make it. Let the people of Johannesburg give me the opportunity. I can tell you, I will turn Johannesburg as the epicenter of the arts, because South Africans are talented.
Because you're Herman Mashaba, you're the president of Action SA. You want to be mayor of Johannesburg again. You want to see that city thrive. I appreciate your time on the lead on News 24 today. And Nkosi kakhulu ngiyabonga, Kialaboa. Go well. Good luck with the campaign. And just I hope that if you do run into Helen Zille, that you only have nice words for each other, please.
No, absolutely. As long as the media does not expect me I must debate with Helen Zille. I would not want to really debate with her. I refuse to have a debate with Helen. If you want to interview Helen, you're most welcome to use your platform. But don't expect Herman Mashaba to be in a debate with Helen Zille, because Herman would not want to really debate with lies.
You're listening to the latest edition of The Lead on News 24 with Graham Rowenheimer. If you've got an opinion on what you've heard so far, drop us a short voice note on our WhatsApp hotline. That's 072 562 3179. And finally,
Ending off now as promised with On This Day in South African History. That's courtesy the SA History Online database. Well, on this very day in 2004, 75,000-year-old shell beads washed up near Stilbaai in the Western Cape, sparking global headlines. This was, at the time, to be the oldest jewelry ever found, at least 30,000 years older than any previous other find. The beads were made from mollusk shells, drilled possibly to form an ancient necklace. Expert anthropologists thought that the discovery in the Blombos cave, which is now a super important Middle Stone Age archaeological site, showed that human symbolic behavior came much earlier than expected. Even older drawings and painting kits have been uncovered there. Today, you won't be able to visit the cave as it's currently off limits to the public, as it's located in a private nature reserve along our southern coastline, nestled neatly between Witstrand and Mossel Bay. Oh, what epic history. In Roby's Pointless Braai quiz for today, our question is, which part of EFF leader Julius Malema's firearm discharge court trial outcome has he since managed to clinch a successful leave to appeal for? Well, that answer is Malema's been granted leave to appeal his sentence of 5 years hard prison time, but not his actual guilty conviction. And he's been let out on bail on a warning until that appeals process finally runs its course. Outside court in Kugompo City, previously East London, Eastern Cape, Malema told thousands of EFF supporters that the presiding magistrate, Toinette Olivier, is a racist and wanted her reported to the Magistrates Commission. Well, if this was your answer all along, congrats. You get really no points other than being a little bit more informed around the Braai place this weekend, and I think that's pretty priceless indeed. Remember, you can get in touch with The Lead at thelead@24.com if you want to drop a mail. Simply drop us a comment below. And note that each show is quality checked by a senior member and or editor of News 24, and we generally adhere to the basic rules set up by the Press Ombudsman as well as the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. What did you think of today's show? What did you think of what Herman Mashaba shared? Well, wherever you find yourself this weekend, safe travels, look after yourself, look after you and your family, buckle up, don't drink and drive, and we'll see you this time next week, Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m, wherever you get your podcasts. My name's Graham Robenheimer, and so long as there's trusted news first, we'll always have The Lead on News 24.